I hope you're having a good day out there. I want to know, while we are cheersing today, did you have strict parents or not? And if they were strict, I want to know, like, what were they strict about? What was the rule that was like, oh my god, I was strict? I want to hear it, because we have some of the most strict parents ever in today's video. So, cheers. Now, it's only fair that I obviously answer the question as well, because maybe you guys are wondering. I wouldn't say I had strict parents, because when I think of strict parents, I've seen other people that have strict parents. Mine, not so much. My mother was definitely more strict than my father, but honestly, I didn't have strict parents. Oh boy, do I have lots of fodder for this one. I'm a college student. We have a list.
A list!
Not allowed to watch kissing scenes on TV. I'm 19. Not allowed to talk to boys ever, ever, ever. Not allowed to talk to a girl with the door closed. I'm a girl. Not allowed to hang out with friends. I only did that just once for the last day of high school. I need to call every time before I go to class, after I go to class, when I fall asleep, when I wake up, or before any major event. Usually 10 to 12 calls a day. This has been decreased to about 6. Yay! Progress. Discouraged from doing any household chores throughout middle and high school so I could focus on my studies. I'm 19 and I don't know how to wash my clothes or use the dishwasher. Edit. Yes, I'm Asian Indian. About the last point, I know now how to use a dishwasher or wash my own clothes, and that's only because I had friends to help and or Google. I just feel incredibly stupid for learning how to do things that most peers of my age group know already. Well, don't be too hard on yourself, because that is not your fault. You never had the opportunity to learn those things. After this list, I can confirm my parents were not strict. Okay. Yeah, having rules in a house is normal. Not the same. This is a different level. My mom read my diary last summer. That is like the #1 betrayal of privacy. Isn't that like the #1 rule as a parent? You don't read your child's diary. I was grounded. Hell, I don't even know why. I only talked about my crushes, school, and sports. I was just grounded for not confiding in your parents. Gee, I guess I can really trust you for reading my personal collection of thoughts and secrets that is undeniably private. I'll tell you everything now. Exactly. That's my point. Isn't that what they say? Don't read the diary because you're breaking the privacy, and then they're really never gonna want to go to you for things. I see a diary as journaling now that I'm an adult. And if I was a mother, I'm not. I see that as a way of them putting their emotions and their thoughts that maybe they don't want to tell anyone, and they're getting it out and they're putting it in this book that they obviously feel safe with. They feel the privacy. I don't want to break that. I'd rather just try to build a relationship where they feel comfortable coming to me, you know? My parents once called the police when I didn't answer the phone for an hour. I was 17 and sleeping. An hour? After 2 hours, they probably were gonna call the police and put like a missing persons report in. The pressure to perform to their standards was very intense. I was grounded for the slightest infraction starting in middle school. No phone calls, no seeing friends, and they took away activities I loved that would have ironically kept me busy and out of trouble. I remember when my mom tried to force me to try out for the high school dance team, but I was not a dancer and wanted to do musical theater instead. Oh my god, you just sound just like me. I was on the dance team and I was in the plays and musical theater. I got grounded for a long time for skipping the tryouts. Oh my gosh. And didn't get to do theater that semester. Like, can you imagine trying to force someone to dance when they don't dance and they don't want to?
Dance, monkey, dance!
I rebelled hard as a teenager, and I'm very lucky that I lived through that stage. It took me a very long time to repair that relationship with my mom. Now I'm a parent too, and I try very hard to make my expectations clear, encourage my child to become their own person, and I work to avoid battles over little things that don't really matter, like clothes. I really like to see the full circle moment of you as a mom now and everything you went through. It's kind of like what I don't want to do, what not to do, what can I do differently. Respect. I was literally forced to drop out of school in the 5th grade. 5th grade? Because my grandmother believed that most people have no souls and were demon possessed. Is grandma demon possessed? I was never allowed to leave the house, as she said that the world was unsafe to roam freely because Satan was trying to corrupt God's children. Oh man, okay. This led to a very sheltered life and very silly things, like when we had to pray over every individual item that entered the house. Food, toiletries, dish soap, you name it. I got woken up at 2 a.m. to be screamed at for 3+ hours over something God had told her that I did wrong. God, the betrayal. I had no education. The internet became heavily regulated as a way to punish me when I got older. Same with reading. Would go like 6 months without any sort of stimulation sometimes. Nothing but the Bible. Okay, well, this isn't even funny anymore. This is very serious. I'm still dealing with a lot of issues that came from being raised like that. I am now just learning how to multiply, divide, etc. She passed when I was 16 and I'm 22 now. My grandpa was a lot less draconian than she was, especially after she passed. I don't believe in God. I have found that personally, science brings me more comfort than religion ever did. I also do not resent her. She was messed up in the head and lived a miserable existence. I still have my whole life ahead of me. Bless you and your positive attitude. As I continued reading, I'm like, this isn't as funny. I feel like grandma might have some mental, she might struggle with some mental health issues. And I don't know what grandma's upbringing. Maybe grandma was raised the same way, so that's all she ever knew, I'm really happy that you're able to see a positive outlook on your future. You're 22, you got a whole life ahead of you, freedom, make what you can with it. We're gonna be okay. Whenever I wanted to hang out with someone my parents didn't know, they would call the school and personally ask teachers about that said student and have a grading sheet based on what the teacher says. Well, I would never pass that test. I don't know if teachers would say very positive things about me. Needless to say, I spent a lot of time hanging out with insert name parents knew, but was somewhere else. That sucks. Can you imagine? I'm trying to picture my parents doing that. Like, what is this kid like? Because I don't know if I want my kid hanging out with them until you tell me if it's a good student, what are their grades, or like, oh, that's too much. We gotta learn life lessons sometimes, Maybe we get into a rougher crowd, but maybe we learn something from it. My parents were slack, but my best friend's parents were so strict. She would have to escape to my house for some freedom. It was the prom in 12th grade. Her parents allowed her to go to prom, but said she was not allowed to dance. We all went to prom, had fun dancing, until she saw her parents standing at the back watching. Yeah, I would rather not go. She then moved out for university. After her first year, she came home to work for summer. She had been on her own for a year and supporting herself, and her parents gave her a 9 p.m. curfew. She spent a lot of time at my house that summer. She got married by the next summer and didn't have to deal with it anymore. Oh my goodness gracious. Like, let your kid grow up. Like, come university having a 9 p.m. curfew? What the actual... What? I feel like a 2-year-old has a later curfew than that. I couldn't go to my prom, so I was made to stay home and clean the 3-acre yard. Okay, Cinderella, that literally is the entire story of Cinderella. You couldn't go to your prom, which is awful in the first place. That sucks, because what a fun memory, And then instead of that, you had to stay home and clean 3-acre of yard. I'm sorry. Honestly, prom for me was not all that great. Like, the after party sucked. I left early. I mean, I stayed. That's a lie. I stayed, but I left earlier than other people. It really wasn't that magical, if I'm being honest. But maybe you had a different prom. I would love to hear about your guys' prom. Did you have a good prom? Like, prom itself was fun and it was whatever. And it was like, ooh, getting dressed up and hair and makeup. It was cutesy. But like, it wasn't like this big magical thing for me. Anyways, I'll show you guys what I looked like at prom. I had a yellow dress and I got inspired by How to Lose a Guy in 10 Days. I loved her in the yellow dress. So I was like, I want to wear a yellow dress. I look awful. I hate my hair. But I was so cute. I was a child. This was me on prom. I went with my high school boyfriend at the time. My mom was insanely controlling about food. Weird rules were in place, like 1 slice of lunch meat per sandwich. No one but her was allowed to cook. She'd make 1 giant batch of spaghetti or something and we'd have leftovers for days. So she only had to make dinner twice a week. She did not work or anything, just didn't like cooking every day. Breakfast was cold cereal and you'd only be allowed a small bowl with just enough milk to moisten it. Occasionally, she'd bake something she called corn toasties, which was simply cornbread baked in a sheet pan. She'd cut them into squares and fill the freezer with them, and we could have one of those for breakfast breakfast as an alternative. Once, when I was 14, I bought a pack of hot dogs at the store, snuck them home, and lit the grill. I was almost done cooking them when she came out screaming about fire hazards and swatted the plate out of my hand. She had been making spaghetti, so she told me what an ungrateful little Cretan I was. So then she ordered a pizza for the rest of the family, wrapped individual servings of spaghetti in freezer paper, and put them away. She told me that I will be eating nothing else until it's all gone. Oh my God. I took about 2 months. It took about 2 months to choke it all down. I went without eating for a lot of days. I was also grounded for over a year, but I sure learned a lot about consequences. Oh my gosh. Y'all, at what point is it strict and at what point is it borderline like abusive? I'm not even trying to be funny right now. Like that's too far. That's too much. Like spaghetti's good, y'all. I'm not even trying to say like we're all lucky, you know, you're lucky to have a meal, to have food. I totally get it. I don't know. It just feels, it seems like a lot. That's a lot to process in my mind. That's also a lot of spaghetti. All right, guys, let me know if you had strict parents and what were they strict about. Of course, if you're comfortable sharing, I honestly don't got much to tell. My parents were not strict, especially after reading this. Of course, we had rules, and as a kid, I probably didn't agree with the rules, but it was not like a strict situation like this, okay? Let me know, though. I'm out of here. Stay classy out there. Stay sassy, and I'll see you tomorrow.